A pesar de que hay un estancamiento en la guerra entre Rusia y Ucrania, a pesar de todos los pesares, el vicepresidente de los Estados Unidos dice que los rusos han hecho concesiones y que hay un camino para resolver estos asuntos. El vicepresidente J.D. Vance tiene la información que se precisa en torno a esta negociación. Él sigue diciendo, los rusos han hecho concesiones. Esto es lo que él explica. Evidencia.
Have made significant concessions to President Trump for the first time in 3.5 years of this conflict. They've actually been willing to be flexible on some of their core demands. They've talked about what would be necessary to end the war. Of course, they haven't been completely there yet, or the war would be over, but we're engaging in this diplomatic process in good faith. We are trying to negotiate as much as we can with both the Russians and the Ukrainians to find a middle ground to stop the killing. I think what the president has tried to do here is try to engage in very aggressive, very energetic diplomacy, because this war is not in anyone's interest. It's not in Europe or the United States' interest. We don't think it's in Russia or Ukraine's interest to keep going. So we're going to keep on pushing for a diplomatic solution. And one final point about this, Kristen, if you look historically, whenever you have a complicated war with a lot of death and destruction, it kind of goes in fits and starts. There are hills and valleys to the negotiation. We sometimes feel like we've made great progress with the Russians, and sometimes, as the president has said, he's been very frustrated with the Russians. And we're going to keep on doing what we have to do to bring this thing to a close. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think that we're going to continue to make progress, but ultimately, whether the killing stops, that determination is going to belong to whether the Russians and the Ukrainians can actually find some middle ground here.
No creo que sea de la noche a la mañana, ha dicho J.D. Vance. O sea, le queda tiempo a esta negociación. Sergei Lavrov, el representante de la parte rusa, ha puesto puntos en el tintero esta semana que se imaginaban pero que no se habían escuchado con tanta vehemencia. A pesar de eso, el vicepresidente J.D. Vance dice que hay un grupo de cosas que los rusos han ido aceptando para conseguir la paz. Esto no va a ser de la noche a la mañana, pero sigue avanzando poco a poco. Aquí más de lo que dijo. Evidencia.
Well, I didn't say they conceded on everything, but what they have conceded is the recognition that Ukraine will have territorial integrity after the war. They've recognized that they're not going to be able to install a puppet regime in Kiev. That was, of course, a major demand at the beginning. And importantly, they've acknowledged that there is going to be some security guarantee to the territorial integrity of Ukraine. Again, have they made every concession? Of course they haven't. Should they have started the war? Of course they haven't. But we're making progress, Kristen. And what I admire about the president in this moment is he's not asking 3.5 years ago. He's not, trying to focus on every nitpicky detail of how this thing started 3.5 years ago. He's trying to focus on the nitpicky details of now, of what do the parties disagree on, what do they agree on, and how do you build a foundation from one side of that ledger to the other so that you can stop the killing.
No obstante, los rusos han hecho muchas cosas que no me gustan. Esta semana prácticamente tuvo ese confirmado, ese ataque a la zona civil de Kiev, dejando 18 muertos. En este momento de la guerra es completamente innecesario. Usaron drones, usaron misiles, afectaron sedes diplomáticas vinculadas con la Unión Europea. O sea, lo que están es llamando la atención para que les impongan nuevas sanciones. Hay cosas, muchas, que no me gustan. Lo dice el vicepresidente de los Estados Unidos. Evidencia.
The Russians have done a lot of things that we don't like. A lot of civilians have died. We've condemned that stuff from the get-go, and frankly, President Trump has done more to apply pressure and to apply economic leverage to the Russians, certainly than Joe Biden did for 3.5 years when he did nothing but talk, but do nothing to bring the killing to a stop. So you ask me what I'm enraged by. What I'm enraged by is the continuation of the war. What I'm enraged by is a presidency and Joe Biden who for 3 years did nothing to end the killing. What I'm actually excited about right now is that we have a president who's engaging in energetic diplomacy to try to stop the killing. That's as it should be. I think the American people should be proud of it. And whatever the outcome of this, whether the war ends in 3 months or 6 months or hopefully not beyond, but maybe, we should be proud that we have a president who's trying to stop the killing. He's done it, by the way, 6 wars that the president has brought to a close all over the world. This would be the 7th. It's the most complicated, but we're trying despite that.